Hello, how are we all? I hope you're doing great. So today I had a realization. I was talking with my sister about her timetable and I was trying to figure it out, and then I was like, oh my god, it's been 2 years since I've gone back to school and a year since I've left school. Further education, not really school. It's weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's really weird because I feel like we're in the school system for so long. Then once we're out, time travels, like time goes by more quickly. So yeah, I was thinking that a lot of you guys might be going back to school or just wondering what I studied, how it went, if I had expectations, if it was a good experience or not, because I know that more and more people are thinking like maybe going to university is not always the best choice for them. So I just wanted to talk about how it was for me. I didn't have an usual kind of way to go through further education. Bear that in mind. I am also from France. Bonjour. So I didn't go to the same universities as you would around the world. Kind of the system is a bit different. You can't really pick and choose courses from different degrees. You have to select one degree. You can have options, like one usually that you can pick yourself among like three or four choices, but that's it. You can't really pick and choose. So once you find a degree that you think is best for you, that's what you choose, that's what you go for. Okay, so I graduated in 2012. I was really happy. Yeah, I graduated with honors, so that's like a 70, between 70 and 80% for England. Don't really know the other ones. I was really happy. I had worked so hard for it. I was really proud of myself, to be honest, because I think it should be celebrated when you work hard to get something. When I had to like make the decision of what I wanted to study later on, I felt a bit stuck, if I'm honest. I was not really sure exactly what I wanted to study. I just knew one thing: I wanted it to have something to do with the international aspect of something. My high school had a fair that they used to do. I think they still do it each year. They ask students that used to go to the high school to present the degree that they were doing at the moment, and I selected a few that I wanted to see. So I went to see this degree. It was a 2-year program for studying international trade. I talked with a guy. He was really nice. He explained it really well, and I was like, oh, maybe I found what I wanted to study. It was not in a university. It was a degree that was given in a high school. It's called BTS in France. So yeah, that's always something that is done in a high school. The same kind of degree, which is called DUT, is taught in a university. So I knew that I was going to have to stay in a high school environment for a long time, a longer time than I wanted. But that was the only option for me to do this degree. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll just do that. I liked it. I like that it offers to do 2 internships, and one was to be done abroad, and that factor really sold it for me. So I went to this school in fall of 2012. I only knew one girl that was in my like doing sports with us. Like we were sharing a few slots of sports and she was with us. So I barely knew her. I knew her like by seeing her and competing against her for a few times, but that was it. And the other people I didn't know. Most of them came from cities around where I was doing my course, which was like by car an hour away from where my parents lived. And so we had to commute there. It was awful. I had to wake up every morning for 2 years at 5:45 a.m. every morning. That was really hard. I was tired all the time. I didn't sleep well. My anxiety was starting to creep up a little bit. Because from the start, I could tell that every student had done a different, how can you explain that? Okay, so in France, you have different paths that you can choose from. So you have the more scientific path, the more economic driven path like economics, and the one that is literature and languages. I did literature and languages. You have other ones that are more professionalized, and pretty much 98% of the people in my class did like professional path that was more towards marketing and the business side of things. And so from the start, I could tell that teachers were used to that. They were used to the students knowing exactly what they were talking about, and they were going further than just the basics. I didn't know the basics. So from the start, I started to panic. My anxiety was creeping up on me. I was tired all the time from waking up so early. I remember one night I couldn't sleep, like insomnia was awful. And I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm not doing great. And she came into my room and I cried. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm gonna have to drop out. I can't do it. I'm so tired. I can't do it. Like physically knowing that I could not do it. We called our doctor and he came by the next day and I explained everything to him, trying to hold back tears, and he gave me something to help me feel better. And then I talked with my mom and I was like, okay, I'm not the type of person to give up on something. I don't want to start today, so I'm just gonna keep on going. Something that was hard for me as well was that, you know, you always hear about, yeah, after high school you are free and then you meet so many people and you have friends and you party with them and you feel so close to them. I didn't get that from that year. I could not really connect with the other people. We were very different in certain aspects that were important for me, so it was difficult to connect with them, to get in a friendship zone, kind of. So I felt really alone. I ended up not talking anymore to the girl that was in my high school before. Same, we were very different. And so it was really difficult. I struggled in classes. So yeah, life was a bit harder than I wished it was. But something that was so interesting for me was this internship abroad. I didn't know exactly where I was going to end up because we had to do our own research and applications. So I was basically the one choosing. I started doing a little bit of research and then I ended up in America, in the US, which was so exciting, and I'm thinking of doing another video about this, about my internship abroad and my year abroad that will come later on. I think these were so important experiences for me that they need to be talked about in an entire video and not just mentioned briefly. It was 2 months away, and then when I came back the next year, I was more confident. I was more confident in who I was and in work. I felt like I saw a business side of something, that I was better than I thought I was before, which sounds so cliche, but it's true. I was happier. I prefer the classes taught during that year as well. It was easier for me to learn, easier for me to have an idea of what was expected of me in terms of learning and in terms of applying it to the real world afterwards, because it was more of a professional course. They expected us most likely to get a job after this or to get a professional undergraduate degree that was only 1 year. So they wanted everything that we learned to be able to be applied right after. So I kind of got that a little bit more. which was great. My grades were way better. They were going up because I was learning in a better way, which was amazing. I was so much more confident, and I actually ended up graduating second of my class. To this day, I have no idea how it did that. And actually, our teacher said, you know what, you and the girl that was first, you were both from the languages and literature degree. And she was like, maybe it's because during this degree you were taught to be very thorough and disciplined, and it helped and it showed. So I was really proud of myself. I actually graduated with like a mention, like I actually I think with honors, like I had a pretty good mark, especially for this course. So I was so happy. And the thing is, I knew I didn't want to stop there. I knew I wanted to do a few more years of education after that. So I decided to actually choose the one that my mom did, and go for it. So it was okay, I need to get this right. Applied foreign languages. Okay, in English and in Spanish. I had done Spanish for many years. Oh my god. Through middle school and high school and the 2 previous years. So quite a bit of time. I moved out of my parents. I went to Grenoble. I had a student accommodation. More on that later. My boyfriend was studying in the same city, so I was really happy about that because the 2 previous years were hard on us. We saw each other once a week usually, and I was so depressed from everything that was going on that, you know, it wasn't really quality time. So even though we had a very packed schedule, we managed to see each other more during the week. This course was challenging. Once again, I entered directly. It was in a university, by the way. I'm sorry. It was in a normal university, so I was like, yes, I'm finally going to get this university experience, meeting people for coffee in between classes and making friends and everything. I was so thrilled about that. And it didn't go as well as I thought it would. The classes were different because the schedule was really weird. In the 2 previous years, I had classes from 8 in the morning until 5 every day, except Friday. I think I was finishing at 2 or 4 or something. But in university, you know, you have classes any time of the day, pretty much. And I was struggling a little bit. I was feeling very lonely. I had a hard time again catching up on what I was expected from teachers. Like I didn't understand what teachers wanted from us. I was very surprised that a lot of students who were supposed to be pretty advanced in especially English, because you start pretty young, they didn't really have the level that I thought they would have. So I was a bit bummed about that. It was more like, I felt like it was learning a new language if you were a bit more advanced than you would think. So yeah, it was very hard, and that's when my mental health really took a turn for the worst. My anxiety was through the roof. I had anxiety every single day. Every time I had to get out the door of my student room, it was awful. Even being in there was really bad. And then after a while, I discovered that what was happening to me several times a week were panic attacks, and that was really difficult because I didn't know what was happening to me. It took a toll on my mental state as a whole. I was feeling so bad every single day. I was very tired because I couldn't sleep at night. I have I have to be careful because I get nighttime anxiety pretty easily. And this year was one of the worst, because I didn't feel comfortable there. I didn't feel secure in this building. The people around me were very noisy. I didn't know them. I didn't want to get to know them because, I don't know, like, it was a thing. I had just left my parents. I was not too used to people around me that I didn't know living so close to me. It was really bad. And my boyfriend had such long hours that he could not be with me for how many hours a day I needed. I didn't make a lot of friends. The only friend that I had was kind of using me. The others, we were polite to each other, but we were not really close. That was really difficult. Classes were not going great. So yeah, it was a pretty hard year. And you know, it's university, so you expect it to be everything you've dreamed of, like freedom and living on your own and being super confident in yourself and making friendships and, you know, everything. And it was not how I had expected it to be. So I was feeling very I was feeling like people had lied to me or something. Very different from what I had expected. And then something I had been wanting to do for a long time. I wanted to study abroad. I knew for it had been years at that point that I knew I wanted to study abroad. As soon as I heard about it, I was like, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. And it's gonna be in England. So I applied to study abroad. I was accepted to study at the University of Birmingham. I was thrilled. I was so happy. It had been such a stress factor in my life to apply and be like, oh my god, what if I'm not accepted? What if my boyfriend is accepted and I'm not? And actually, we were both accepted in the same university. So that was amazing because we knew we would be going together and getting this experience together and living together abroad. It was just incredible. We were so happy about that. So the summer came around and I worked again where I had worked. And then we entered September and this whole year abroad. Again, it will be in another video, so I'm not gonna say a lot about it, but it was amazing. My anxiety was not great, but it was a different experience from what I had before, the 3 previous years basically. So yeah, I was very happy. It was different. It was more how I had imagined it to be in my head, as in university. So I was really thrilled about that. And then I decided I wanted to do a master's degree. So again, I had started to have more of a clear idea of what I wanted to do in my life, which will change throughout the next years of university and of further education. So I decided I wanted to study marketing. So I moved again, well, this time from Birmingham to another city that was an hour and a half south of where my parents lived. With my boyfriend, he had found a course that he wanted to do in the same city, so that was great. And so I was going to study marketing. It was in a university, but like a branch, so it was way smaller than a real university. We were not a lot of students. I think maybe 120 or something, like 100, around that mark. The courses were better. It was more fitted to what I wanted to do, so I was really happy about that. But again, the students in my class had all done pretty much the same undergraduate studies before. They were studying marketing and communication and marketing and communications for 3 years prior to that. I didn't. So I had like one course in my second year of 2-year post-A levels. So that was not a lot of baggage to arrive with. And teachers were like, oh yeah, so you know the basics again. So I had to work extra hard to kind of get the basics of what they were talking about at the same time as learning everything that everybody else was learning with me. So that was a bit of a struggle. I was kind of frustrated with that. We were not a lot of students in the class. I think maybe 3 or 4 people had not done the course that was expected to do in an undergraduate studies. So that was a bit of a challenge. And again, my anxiety was not doing great. I was not sleeping. Sometimes I arrived at school and I had slept like 3 hours, not even continuously. My anxiety was on edge. I was on edge all the time pretty much, and I had a hard time focusing because I was so tired and so anxious. That was a bit difficult for me. I failed a class, 2 classes actually, that had to do with like numbers, and I'm not good with numbers. So yeah, I was not too happy about that. And I was really bummed that I had failed these classes. I had never failed a class before. That was new territory. I really questioned myself a lot during that time. I knew we had makeup tests and everything, and other students had failed, so it was not just me, but it was so unusual for me that I was like, oh my god, maybe it's just the world telling me that I'm not supposed to do this, that I'm not good enough. I started to question everything about my studies until this point. I ended up passing the makeup tests, so that was cool. But another surprise arrived at the end of the year. It was like, how to explain this? There was a big change in the university policies, and they had to select a few students because they only had half the number of students they could accept than the number of students in the Master 1. So basically we were 120 students, and they only had places for 60 students, so pretty much half of it. That's how I remember it, because it was very blurry in my mind. And I had a gut feeling. I was like, you're not gonna get it. You're going not to be accepted in the 2 masters, 2 that I had applied for. I could tell it. People were like, no, you'll see, it'll be fine. You'll feel better. I just could tell. And the day before we were told, I could tell that it was not going to be okay. The day we were going to get the results was actually an exam day. We had a test that day, which was very unfortunate for everyone, because when I arrived in front of the board, I could see a few people crying, like not a lot, like maybe 2 people were a bit upset. And I looked at the list and I saw that I had been declined both courses. It was like something crashed inside of me. I didn't want to cry in front of everybody, so I was like pacing a little bit in front of people. But as soon as people asked me, oh, so what's the results? I bawled my eyes out. I cried my heart out. I was like, what am I gonna do with my life? I really wanted to do a second year master's degree because just 1 year is not enough. And so I was a mess. I don't even know how I did this test. I even got a pretty good mark. So I was like, okay, that's good. It just crumbled. Everything crumbled. And I had to text my parents to tell them. I had to text my boyfriend to tell him. And it was awful to tell them I failed. I'm a failure, you know, like it's never something easy to talk about, to tell people. My dad was actually picking me up after to go take my stuff and move back to my parents, because we were supposed to move to another city because they didn't do masters 2 where I was. And I was like, my goodness, I'm back to square one at my parents. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. It was really difficult. And so I started to look for other courses that I could possibly do. And I saw one and I was like, oh my God. It was a course taught in the city of Grenoble where I had lived before. So I was really happy about that. My boyfriend had found a course there already. He had been accepted and everything. And better than anything, it was a course entirely taught in English for international students. So students coming from everywhere in the world in one class with everything taught in English. My dream, basically. So I applied for it alongside a few other courses that were interesting, but not as much. And then they were like, okay, we want to see you for an interview. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was actually doing an internship for marketing. So I was like, ooh, what am I gonna do? I can't commute. I ended up having to come, and my dad drove me here, so bless him, he's amazing. And I did my interview. I was so scared about it. I had done one for another course that I was applying to, but that was different. This one was in English, which I was not speaking on a daily basis, so just that was a bit difficult, like a bit scary for me. It was dreamy but scary. Did the interview. I had to wait a few days, too many days for me to get an answer for that. And then I remember I was at work doing my internship, and I got the email, and I was like, I don't want to open it. I don't want to open it. What is it? I was like, if this one tells me that they're not accepting me, this is the end for me. I opened it, and as you know, like you can tell by the first few lines, and I was like, oh my God, I had been accepted. I was over the moon. My boyfriend and I started looking for an apartment in Grenoble again. We found one, the first one we visited actually. And then it was back to Grenoble, and I was a bit scared at first because of my first experience in Grenoble. And on the first day, like, you know, the welcome day meeting, we all started talking to each other, and then we had kind of a game to introduce all of us, because there were 2 courses in the university, I'm sorry, it's Friday, in the university that I was in that were taught in English. So they mixed us all together because we were coming from all over the world, and that was so cool. And they were like, yeah, you're gonna meet each other. We did a little game that was really fun, and we got to meet everyone and talk to everyone. And as soon as that first day ended, I was like, this is going to be a completely different year for me. The vibe of the class was different. The fact that it was all in English. I was speaking English every day for every course between us. That was the common language, of course. It was insanely amazing. People were coming from all over the world: China, Japan, Brazil, Colombia, Morocco, Serbia, Germany. Oh my God, I'm forgetting people. Taiwan, Thailand, Mexico. You know, like everybody was from all over the world, and just talking to them and discussing their culture and their language and how everything is different home, and like the similarities, and just talking and having different opinions about everything. It was just absolutely amazing and incredibly enriching for me, like incredibly, just the biggest life lesson ever, to see people coming from all over the world. They were not brought up the same as you. They were not taught things the same way as you. They speak another language usually. That was just amazing. That was amazing. The courses were better suited for me as well, and the fact that they were taught in English, that was a major point for me. I just started to feel more confident. I just started to feel more settled. And actually, it was the year my anxiety changed. I had been suffering so badly with anxiety for over 3 years at this point. 3 years very, very badly, and 5 years quite badly. Quite badly. And I started sleeping well, a normal amount of hours. I felt good. I didn't feel anxiety a lot. I had started to work out as well, and I could tell that it was doing something great for me. And the comfort that I was experiencing in classes really made a change for me. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Actually, this is maybe my university experience. This is how I was supposed to experience it. Not the partying, not the what everybody was thinking about, but just me feeling this comfortable in a class with people from all over the world. And yeah, I had very bad experiences before, but you know what? You grow from them. And I had been feeling so much better. Like, I had my university experience, everything was normal again in my mind, and you know, like breathing. The thing is, I think with further education is that you are told that what you're going to study will be what you will use for the rest of your life for your job. And I feel like that was such a weight on my shoulders for me to think, oh my god, you are going to have to be super strategic with what you're going to choose for courses, because you will need them in your life later. And you know, like, it's pretty hard for a 20-something person, even 18 when you graduate, to think, oh my god, I'm going to have to make these big decisions that will impact me for the rest of my life. Oh, I mean, that's tough. And I think if I had to do it again, I would probably do it the same, just because it helped me to get where I am today. If otherwise, on another level, if I could start again to study today something else that was just me studying for me, it would be absolutely different. I would not have made the same choices that I have, because it would be for me and not just for an education. I would most likely be studying criminology and psychology, photography and cinematography and everything. That would have been so different for me. But just, I think that when you have to make a decision on what you want to do, just go with what feels best for you at that moment, and just know that this is not going to be the last decision that will make your life crumble if it doesn't work out. You can always do things differently afterwards. You can decide not to go to university, and then a few years after decide to do a course that you really like, because you've seen that you would need this knowledge, and just like, it's very different. And if you decide to go to university, just think, I'm not gonna have expectations. I'm going to live it the way I live it, because that's how I was supposed to live it, basically. Just don't focus too hard on making it the best experience. It could be like, how to say that? Don't force yourself to do it like everyone else is doing. If you don't want to do it that way, if you want to still live at your parents', if you don't want to go to parties, if I don't know, like, any decision is up to you, and don't think that you have to do it a certain way, because that's the way people do it. I think that's what I would tell my 18-year-old self. You do you, basically. That's what I want to say. And just know that if something goes wrong during your studies, your mental health, you're not studying what you want to study, just know that there's always something that you can do and that it will teach you something. Nothing happens just to happen. It happens because it needs to teach you something in the long term. So just think about that. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just think, I'm going to try to do the best work, the best studying, the best anything that I can do to get where I want to go. And if it doesn't work out, it's a lesson learned. It's a lesson that will help you in the future. Nothing is lost. I know that every year that something was going wrong, that my anxiety was awful, that the classes that I was taught were not interesting for me. That's what I was trying to tell myself, and I know that in the moment it's really hard to believe. That's absolutely normal. Just try to have these moments of like, okay, this is different than what I was expecting, but it's going to be fine. Just think that it's going to be fine. You will be fine, because you will take care of yourself and you will do what's best for you. Okay? So, on these wise words from me, I hope this was somehow interesting for you or useful, I hope. Don't hesitate to comment below if you have a question, or to email me if you want to be more private about it. I will absolutely love that, and I will be very happy to help you in any way that I can. I will try to do these 2 other videos. I want to do one about my experience doing my internship abroad and my year abroad in one video, because I think it was quite an experience altogether being abroad. And I also want to do another one about like my university tips for everything: organization, life, decisions, anything like that. So if you have any questions, just ask them to me. You can DM me on Instagram if that helps. You can send me an email, no problem at all, and I will make these videos for you. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.